Hey guys, what is going on? Code here, and after over an entire month of not being able to record anything, I'm finally back with more rack extension reviews, tutorials, and other stuff that's gonna be quite cool. Yeah, first of all, sorry for the delay, but yeah, I had to hand in some term papers, but they're all done, so let's get started. And today's video is gonna be on a filter plugin, or filter rack extension rather, that most of you probably know. It was one of the first rack extensions that were released in the Propellerhead store. And it's called Etch Red, and I'm just gonna go over the plugin real quick, or the rack extension, and yeah, I'll show you the features and also some cool stuff that you can do with it. So as source material, as a starting point, I've got a patch here which I called abstract reverse strings, which is basically just hold strings that are all dry and have no release, and they sound like this. If you take a look at the notes here, so I've got a low F and a high F, and I'm sending those into a bit of a tape distortion to make them a bit fatter and crunchier, and that's going to be our source material. So I'm going to close this combinator and create an Etch Red dual filter. Okay, and this is the way it looks, and it might be a bit overwhelming at first, but it's actually quite a nice plugin, and once you get the hang of it, then it's really simple and quick to use, and that's something I really like. Okay, so we should probably start off with the sections up here. The first thing, yeah, Dropbox, fuck off. The first thing that will happen is the signal goes into the main input, and then it goes through these sections from left to right. So first it goes into the drive section, which is basically a distortion unit, and this distortion unit can be applied either before the filters or after the filters by activating or deactivating this post button. So I'm just gonna select a couple of presets here and turn up the drive, and let's see how that affects the signal. Actually, I may turn off the Scream 4 so that we can hear it more prominently. So this is the dry signal. Should probably turn this down just a little bit. Okay. So that's the diode type, and there's all sorts of distortion types. The shred is quite with a bit of high end, and sounds kind of similar to fuzz and scream. There's a clipping distortion. There's, I don't know, tannin, I don't know. Quite like that one on the middle frequencies, or on the middle amount right there. But yeah, that's just your basic distortion. And then it goes into the filter, and the filter is where this thing really excels. If you compare it to what we had since Reason 1.0, which is basically this ECF42 envelope controlled filter, and it has 3 filter types: bandpass 12, low pass 12, and LP24, or low pass 24. And this filter comes with 4 filter types: Japan, SVF, Fatty, and Comb. But don't be fooled by the maybe lack of filters as you might think. It also has this mode switch. And as you can see here, the Japan filter is just a basic low pass filter at first, where you can use the frequency knob right here to filter the frequencies. But it also has all these other different filter types. And as I start switching through here, I'll list some. So first of all, you have a 2-pole low pass, which is what we have right now. But then suddenly it becomes 4-pole low pass, 2-pole band pass, which sounds like this. So it's a basic band pass filter right there. I'll turn up the resonance a little bit so the effect is more prominent. That's a band pass filter. And then they have all sorts of cool filters. They've got 2 poles for both, for all low, band, and high pass filters. And then also they've got peak filters, which add a bit of resonance, I think. They've got notch filters right here, which is just absolutely brilliant for heavy neurofunk basses. And they've got all sorts of combinations. So here's 2N to L, 2P to N, and yeah, I haven't explored all of these, but it's just a huge array of filters, and that's only for one type. And then they've also got Fatty, which is really good for big hip-hop basses. It's just got a different kind of slope, I'd say. And also there they've got low pass, band pass, high pass, and the last one is notch, which is quite subtle. And then you've got a comb filter with positive and negative comb filtering. Yeah. So really all sorts of filter types. But that's not all. You've got 2 of them, first of all. And then you can modulate them with this huge modulation section down here. As you can see, you've got an envelope, you've got LFOs, a follower, and this S&H thing I haven't really explored yet. So let me show you how to create a basic dubstep wobble, let's say. Let's set the tempo at 140, and yeah, let's start applying some LFO to the filter 1 frequency. So what I'll do here is I'll go to the LFO 1 section, and the first thing I really like about this LFO is that it's got this display where it shows you whether the LFO, or what the LFO does visually, so that's always really helpful. You've got rate and gain, and then these silver buttons down here underneath each of these parameters is the modulation amount. So you could have LFO2 modulate LFO1 rate, for example, and I'm going to show you that in just a second. But first off, let's start off with this basic patch. So I'll set the rate to 1/8 of a bar in triplet mode, and then you can already see that the rate changed in this little display right here. And now I will apply some modulation to the filter frequency. Now, how do we do that? Well, we've got this modulation source selection section right here, and there you can select sources for the modulation. So in this case, we want the LFO1 to modulate filter frequency 1, so I'll change that to LFO1 and then turn up the filter frequency modulation on the filter. And the filter's all the way down, so you can't hear anything. And now listen as I increase this. So there's your basic filter frequency modulation. Now what's awesome about this is we can distort after the filter. So this is distortion before the filter, but if I now set this to post, it will go after the filter. Which starts to sound different, especially once you add resonance. And then of course that also works with different filter types. So that's quite extreme. And then let's say you want to do some advanced modulation. So we've already got this. I'm going to turn off the drive. We've already got this basic dubstep wobble patch here, but let's add some random variation, or semi-random variation. So I'll just set this to, I'll leave that at sine, but turn the rate all the way down to maybe 8 bars. And then for this one, for LFO1, as you can see, there's also a modulation source, or a modulation amount knob under the rate. So what I'll do is I'll select LFO2 and turn this up for LFO2. So now what happens is we get some modulation. And now the switching, or the variable values of this LFO will modulate the rate, and this is synced to the tempo. That's why it sounds so choppy. But if I turn off the tempo sync, you can hear that LFO2 is modulating LFO1, and you can also see that visually, which is something I really like. The LFOs are quite advanced as well, as in they've got gain knobs, which is basically a modulation amount for that particular LFO, which is quite cool. So for example, you could have, let's just turn this off and return to our basic wobble patch here, which is synced to 1/8. Okay, so what you could do is route this to all sorts of parameters in here and then increase the gain, and it will it will start affecting the level more and more. That is pretty much the same as modulating or as changing these values, but these ones can be automated and these can't, because obviously they have different values for each one of these modulation sources, so obviously that's impossible. Yeah, we've got two of these filters. Obviously, I've already talked about that one a tiny bit, and I'm not going to get too much in detail. I mean, obviously, you can figure out stuff like pan and input volume for yourself. Also, the FM amount is something that's really cool if I start playing with that. The filter will basically start frequency modulating itself, which can end up in some quite interesting results. You've also got an envelope follower, and if you want to know what an envelope follower is, then I suggest you check out Propellerhead's video on their free, or it used to be free, rack extension Pulsar Dual LFO, which has an envelope follower, and also I believe Pulverizer has one, and they explain it quite well. But of course you've got attack, decay, and level, and you can also apply that to any of the sources, just as well as with the envelope. And the envelope can be, I'm pretty sure it can be triggered by CV. So let's see here. There's output. Okay, there's a gate here, and that gate will trigger the envelope. So you could hook up the gate output from NNXT, if there is one. No, there's no gate output for the NNXT. There's only inputs on the back. The remote programmer also doesn't have anything. But yeah, you could hook up maybe the gate output from a Thor and route that to the envelope, and then you could have a separate filter envelope for all of these in the section of Etch Red. And then finally, we've got an output section with a compressor. So let's say we just have that. And then you can apply some compression. I'm not sure if that needs to be activated, to be honest. I'm not really sure about that at the moment. So here's a hard soft switch, but I'm not too sure whether you can activate that or not. Yeah, and what's also pretty cool is you can take the second filter and link it with a filter 1 frequency, or use it in parallel. So you could have, if I activate the parallel here, we have both the Japan filter of this section that's coming through on the same signal as this one is coming through. So instead of this one going into this one, they're both working with the same input level at the same time, and then they're fed into the output, which is quite nice. So you could have, for example, let's switch this to notch, and this LFO is already quite slow, so I'm gonna apply some modulation to that. Actually, that's the wrong one. I've got the envelope selected. I want to apply LFO too. So it's always important to select the right modulation source. So we're getting quite the rhythmic patch here, and that's all from this source signal. We've created this new rhythmic kind of, I don't know, it could be called a pad. Hold on, let me add some reverb, and then maybe, yeah, like that. I gotta say, I quite like this last algorithm on the distortion. And what's also really nice about this rack extension is that it comes with a huge variety of patches that actually can change the sound very dramatically. So I'll just go into the light coloration here. Let me just start playback again and switch through a couple of presets. So this one's a rhythmic patch. And Squelchy is pretty cool. Transient Accents is also quite nice. I quite like that one. And they are... Oh man, this is hurting my ears. They're divided into nice categories, so you can select from light coloration to heavy coloration, sweeping filters, non-moving filters, which is just basic setups and stuff. So basically this rack extension comes with anything you could ask for. Any of your filter needs will probably be met here. If they're like, I really can't think of anything that could be added to a filter that this thing doesn't have. So yeah, Etch Red, definitely one of the best rack extensions I've reviewed so far, and I've used this an incredible lot lately. Especially if you're making genres of music that have a lot to do with filtering, especially stuff like neurofunk bass, basses in neurofunk, yeah, dubstep, basically all sorts of UK bass music can really profit. But it also works great on acoustic material. So yeah, there's Etch Red for you. The links are in the description if you want to check it out for yourself. Thanks for watching. Dorian Cut out.